Welcome to 6.2. This is about time using decimals. So for the first example, it says if there's a start time of 8 a.m. and an end time, now it says 3:30 a.m., but I'm pretty sure that this should be 3:30 p.m. because if you're working a job, you don't want to be working from 8 a.m. till 3:30 a.m. So I think that's 3:30 p.m., 3:30 in the afternoon. And it says if Laura earns $14.50, and I think that means every hour, so like per hour, find her gross pay. So it's a little bit hard to figure out because I know we would do 1450 times the number of hours, but it's not really clear right away to figure out if you're going from 8 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. how many hours that is. So we're gonna come back to this question in a little while, but we're gonna investigate about like how to deal with taking the amount of time that goes by, because this is 3:30, this is hours and minutes, and changing that into decimal form. So really what we're doing is thinking about things like, hey, if we got 3:30 p.m., how do we put that into a decimal form? What does that look like? Okay, so first of all, let's look at that, the minutes part, because like the 3 that has to do with hours, this part has to do with minutes. So let's explore the different ones that we do. So the most common ones are 15 minutes, 30 minutes, and 45 minutes. And often when we say like, hey, it's 3:15, we say it's quarter after. So 15 minutes is a quarter of an hour. It's 1/4 of an hour. Now, if you do 1/4 in your calculator, or if you happen to know what a quarter is as a decimal, so you can do 1 divided by 4 in your calculator, you would get 0.25. Another way you could do this is you could take that 15 minutes and you could divide by how many minutes are in an hour, or 60 minutes. So that would also give you a decimal. If you do 15 divided by 60 in your calculator, it would get 0.25. So there's two ways that I just changed 15 minutes into decimals. 15 minutes is a quarter of an hour, and 1/4 is 0.25. Or you could say 15/60. So when you see 3:15 and you're changing it to decimal form, that 15 minutes is going to turn into 0.25. It's not 0.15, it's 0.25. 30 minutes is the same thing as half of an hour, and half as a decimal is 0.5. 45 minutes is 3/4 of an hour, and 3/4 as a decimal, you may know already, is 0.75. But if you didn't remember that, you could just do 3 divided by 4. So for example, when we are talking about different time, that's how we're going to change things. So let's take it down here. It says how to count hours worked in a day. Okay, so this is a different example. We will come back to Laura a little bit later, but let's just look at Franco's example here. Franco starts at 8:15 a.m. and he ends his day at 3:30 a.m. So I'm going to think about this. Okay, so we're going to divide things from the morning, and then like something happens at noon. This is 12 noon, and then we got the afternoon. And the reason why I'm doing this is because the numbers start over, right? We go from morning, goes up till 12, and then in the afternoon we start at 1 again. So the numbers start over, so that we just can't do it. It helps to divide that up. So if I'm thinking here, we start at 8:15 in the morning, and then it goes up till 12 noon, and then in the afternoon it goes from here and it stops at 3:30. So I think it's helpful for us to figure out how many hours does Franco work in the morning, how many hours does Franco work in the afternoon, and then we're going to add those two together. So the first step is, let's convert that 8:15 a.m. to hours with decimals. So the 8 stays the same because that's the number of hours. But now the 15, now here's what you don't want to do. You don't want to put 0.15 big X through there. What you want to do is you want to say, okay, 15 minutes is a quarter of an hour. So that's where we're going to take, I'll do green so it shows up. That's where we're going to take this one over here, and we're going to pop it over right over there. And we're going to say, okay, 0.25. Okay, so we can think of this as 0.25. So in normal time way of talking, we say 8:15. If we're talking in terms of hours, we could say 8.25 hours. Okay, so that's when they're started. Now it says, count the morning hours by subtracting the start time from 12 noon. So noon is 12. So if we want to say, how far is it from here to here? We have to subtract 12 minus 8.25. So we're going to say 12 minus 8.25, which I think is 3.75. So in other words, how many hours did Franco work in the morning? 3.75 hours in the morning. All right, now let's go, and the next part is, let's look at the afternoon. So in the afternoon, he works from noon till 3:30. 3:30 as a decimal. So going back looking at that chart we made, 30 minutes is half an hour, it's 0.5. So I'm going to rewrite 3:30 as 3.5. Now it says add the morning hours and the afternoon hours. So just to finish this over here, how many hours did he work in the afternoon? 3.5. Because 3:30 as in hours is 3.5. So for the morning you do 12 minus the decimal version of when you started. For the afternoon you can just take this and that's how many hours. So we're going to have to add together 3.75 and 3.5. So 3.75 plus 3.5, and we add those together. I think we get 7.25 hours. Cool. All right.